Alright folks, thanks for checking in Stormtopia.com, the Stormtopia.com Facebook page. We have our daily weather update right now. Looking towards a quiet and unseasonably cold pattern for most of the northeast as we go through the weekend. And this is the part where you guys say, no, there's going to be a storm coming from the south. Well, that's not really in the northeast. It's going to be in Virginia, West Virginia, which is technically the southeast. And it's not going to push into the northeast, no matter how much you guys want it to. Let's just take a look at these current temperatures. 20s and 30s across most of New England, yeah, 40s for Boston down towards New York City, and then 50s from Richmond south and southwest, where some warm air is trying to push northward. But all together, it's an unseasonably cold pattern without a doubt. Let's just look at these models nationally first. It's going to be the NAM model, and then next stop we're going to go to locally. Here we are for Saturday, and what we're going to see occurring here is a bubble high and more unseasonably cold air just filtering on into the northeast. And then as we make our way out on in through the evening hours of Saturday, what's going to occur is that we're going to get increasing warmth and moisture out of the Gulf of Mexico, and what that's going to contribute to is rain, okay, and lots of it. Not necessarily a heavy flooding rain, but just lots of rain developing through the Tennessee Valley, through the interior southeast, and eventually that consolidates itself into two low pressure centers. Here's one, here's two. I just lost my image. There we go. And what occurs here is they both move off to the northeast at about the same speed. The first one goes south, okay, and the first one ends up just forcing a little bit of rain, essentially from the North Carolina-Virginia border southward. But the second one is going to be interacting more with this high pressure system, which has a supply of cold air, and that's why the second burst, which comes through during the morning hours of Sunday for Virginia and West Virginia and the Delmarva, is the burst that I expect, or the low pressure center and massive precipitation, excuse me, that I expect to produce the majority of the snowfall accumulation. So let's just get rid of all this yucky drawing and take a look locally what's going to happen, or at least regionally instead of nationally. Here we are at 18Z Saturday, quiet. Okay, we go and then you see some precip starting to spread out of the southwest, but that's not having an impact because that's the first low. So here's the first low's precip mass, if you will. So here's the first low's precip mass pushing off to the... Okay, that pop-up was not expected. Stop. Cool. See, when I tell these pop-ups to stop, they always stop, because, you know, that's the power of Stormtopia. And here we are at around the evening hours of Saturday. First low's precip is starting through North Carolina-Virginia border. Second low, still out back in the southwest Ohio Valley. In between the two, we've got quiet weather across most of the southern mid-Atlantic, back into the southern and central, well, I say central Appalachians. These are not necessarily the Smoky Mountains that are beginning getting a decent amount of snowfall. Then that rain moves through, okay, through the day or through the nighttime hours of Saturday into the pre-dawn hours of Sunday. And it should wrap up by the morning hours of Sunday for the hardest hit areas of West Virginia and Western Virginia, the state itself. And by the afternoon hours, there could just be a couple remnant snow showers just hanging around here. This is very light precipitation by 18Z on Sunday. Let's just get to why the forecast is so difficult, because this seems like a clear-cut forecast. All the models are pretty close to agreeing, but what you need to consider here is that if you look at your temperatures ahead of the storm, okay, ahead of the storm, I have great difficulty finding the right image. Cool. Ahead of the storm, we are in the 30s, okay. Here's the 32-degree line. Now, as the storm moves through, do you notice that line changing at all? Not really. It drags a little bit to the south when that low pressure center passes the latitude or longitude or whatever of that location. So when that low gets to the east of you, your wind switch out of the northwest, and yes, then your rain snow line does dive south. But when the low is east of you and all the precip is ahead of the low, then you're done with the precip, even though you have the cold air. So while most of the heavy, significant precipitation is coming through, the rain-snow line will stay in the exact same place, or around the same place. I mean, there could be like fluctuations of 5 to 10 miles like this, but you're not going to see it going ding, 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 ding. Okay, that's not that kind of a storm, because the storm is not moving up the coast. It is moving dead ahead to the east. Okay, and the reason why that is important is if you're looking at the accumulations, there's likely to be 2 to 5 inches and an early call somewhere in here. Okay, to the north of that you got it coating to 2 inches, and then to the south you've got nothing. Nothing south of that 2 to 5 inches. So you go from 5-6 inches at maximum to almost nothing to the south, and that's the concern. That is the concern, that we're going to see such a sharp drop between nothing and your your most significant snow. And until you can pinpoint that rain snow line, which we can't do quite yet, we can't put out a snowfall accumulation map. When can we pinpoint it? Likely, to be honest with you, tomorrow. So tomorrow, snowfall accumulation maps coming out on Stormtopia.com. Okay, folks, have a good day. Enjoy your day. Stay safe out there, and stay tuned.